Welcome to the Bookworm Bindery. I had intended to do a project in progress showing covering books and doing some of the just, stuff. And I got interrupted. And so this is part 2. I will post these up at the same time. So it was like, oh no. I'm like, well, we'll just go for part 2. So in the previous section, I had covered this book, got the inside spine fabric on, and I was going off to cut the inside and cover pages for the front and back. And I got that done before I was interrupted. So it actually has a cool back as well, but this is the one we're using for that. And while I did that, I went ahead and cut the purple and green ones for the tulip book. So let's now deal with putting this paper in, and then we will cover the tulip book and get it far along, and then we'll go from there. So get the glue that's dried off here. And again, this is one of those things where this doesn't really have a right or a wrong. I thought about putting it this way, but I didn't like those going across. They probably should have been going across because that shows your phases of your moon. But they're going this way. And you know what? It still shows the phases of the moon. It just shows them up and down. All right. So let's see. Get the glue down. Okay. I'm going to start by gluing in here. Now, because this is a paper, I don't smush this glue flat on paper, which is why I'm not wearing a finger cot. Well, plus I got interrupted, but I didn't have to put one back on. Normally, I like to cover 2 or 3 books with fabric, so that I'm only using so many finger cots. And, oops, sorry about that. That was rude. Just a little bit here. I did put some, obviously, on the book. I like, as I do the corners, I like to actually take the glue off the corner. That kind of ensures that I get glue all the way out to the corners. And then I'm going to very carefully set this down. And apply some pressure. Now, one of the things that will happen, you could use a brayer for this. I use the hand brayer. Okay, before I move this one on, I'll just make sure that this section right here is indeed flat. This is that. This is that. Okay, we're good. Now we'll do the other side. Boy, that's a lot of flipping around. Hope I'm not making you dizzy. Okay, this one doesn't actually have a number, so I need to go into the book, make a note. So I have an inventory book that I describe my books. Give them a number, give them a description, write down things like how many signatures there are and how wide the spine is, how many ply the book board is. I make my own book board. I don't buy it. I use recycled boxes, like from crackers or cereal or things like that. Remnant fabrics. And in junk journal, I use reused paper. It can be anything from sheet music to old pages. I do use some new pages, copy dye them or put them in nice and white. I do use some new paper. In my art books, I use Drawing paper, you can request it with watercolor paper. It adds about $2 to the cost of the book. It's just a little more expensive for watercolor. I find that I really like manila paper. It has a wonderful texture. Ink doesn't go through it, whether you're using ballpoint or gel pens, or basically India ink with nib pens. It doesn't bleed through, and that means that you can easily write or draw on, both sides of the paper and not have it affect. Okay, I'm looking for my little tack. There it is. It's red. I got them, dug them out of my desk red so that I can find them. But if it goes under something, I can't find it. Okay, so this is now ready to be marked. The holes punched. I usually punch them with the Crocodile Big Bite, because this is pretty hard. This is a pretty hard surface, and yes, I could use an awl and a hammer to punch through, but the Big Bite just is easier. Okay, now we're gonna go, so let me set this one aside. I have not forgotten that I'm going to show you an up-and-coming project. So let's set these papers aside for a sec, and let's lay this out. So what we want to do here is we want to look at this and say, do we like this at the back? Do we want this flower cut off? Do we not want it cut off? Do we want a nice even, picture or a flower versus something that's partial? So let's look. This is really, so I'm thinking about for the front of the book. I think this is not quite as orange as this is showing. This is, let me bring it up. Maybe it shows it better. Yeah, a little bit better. It is still showing it more as a scarlet and orange red, but this is really pretty much a tomato red, orangey. I mean, redder than a orange. Sometimes tomatoes are orangey, so that's not good. That's not a good comparison. Okay, so the decision now is that I want this flower on the front. It does have to wrap around, which is going to put this viola right on the edge. I'm good with that. And that puts that flower on the spine. I don't have it quite tight enough. Let's see. That goes on the edge, and this is pulled here. No. So I have to sacrifice something. I think I want that viola right on the edge. I don't think they're violets. They're too big to be violets, like wild violets. Or these are the smallest tulips I've ever seen. So I'm pretty sure those are violas. Okay. I'm babbling. All right, let's do this. So this is going to go here. I don't know how well you can see this, but I'm making sure that the edge of that purple is just barely covered. I need to take it up a little bit so that when this is turned up, I'm seeing background, not the white of the fabric. So it's going up a little bit. I could clamp it, and just, the fabric, say over here, to make sure it doesn't move. But, then I'd have to get out the clamps. So another finger caught. I bought some finger cots at a 99-cent store. I'm not sure why they're still in here. There, that took care of that. First one I put on, my finger went right through it. It's old. You have to be very careful about old finger cots. Okay. Because we're not speaking euphemistically, the glue will come right through. All right. So I'm going to kind of hold this steady. I'm going to flip this up, and I'm going to get glue here. Patience. Okay, come on. Let's go. Okay. Again, this needs to be smoothed out so that it doesn't leave glue marks, dark shadows on the fabric. Ta-da. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this up and just get a little bit of glue right here on the edge of the spine. This is actually the indentation. I just want to make sure that the book is nicely glued. Okay, now I can go through here. So again, plug your ears if you don't like the sound. Good deal. Yes, there's threads. Now the threads are gone. Well, they will be as soon as this one's cut. Okay. That is that. So let's turn this back over. Okay. Okay. So again, you know, we were talking about in the first part, we were talking about these fold lines, and we're not going to worry about fold lines because we're going to hand press them out, and the glue is going to hold that nice and flat. Okay. Normally that would be up on the inside, but I'll live. Okay. So this is book number 102. I just have to remember that now. Okay. When your glue bottle is almost empty, you have to squeeze it so hard to get the glue out. So I think I'm going to cap this, set it aside, and just bring out the smaller bottle. So I'm going to show you this really quick. Can you see that darker spot right there? That's a place where that glue came through. I probably had just a bit too much of a glob. Okay. I don't recommend leaving your glue bottle on its side for very long because it will allow the glue to just kind of pour out. On the other hand, when you're picking it up and using it time and again really soon, that keeps the glue from dropping all the way to the bottom, and then you don't, oops, I didn't smooth that out. Oh, that's okay. We'll be good. Not the end of the world. Anyways, you don't have to wait for the glue to come all the way back down. So you just have to watch it and make sure you're not making a huge mess. So here's things about making a huge mess. I actually have a glue mat. It's like a cheapy cutting mat from, I think I bought them at Ace Hardware. And I really like them, and in the kitchen, they're great. When you just, cutting up vegetables, or if you're cutting up meat, it's nice to have a couple so that you're not, contaminating things. And because they weren't very expensive, I was like, I'm going to try one of these as a glue mat. And it just lives underneath this self-healing cutting mat. So it's not even like it's hard for me to grab. There you go. All right, let's look. Okay, well, that's pretty enough on the spine. Maybe I'll put a piece of lace over it, or a crochet doily or something, so that it doesn't. It doesn't look bad. Could have looked better. But I am happy that my front has those pretty flowers. So the front of the book is important. Spines are important. So I'll fix it so that it's prettier. I don't know if I'm even in camera. Barely. Okay. So I do things in batches like this. So when I sit down and I'm cutting up chipboard to make book boards out of, I like to do a bunch of them. Sometimes I just cut up the board, put it in. I've got a craft drawer. I'll just put it in there and then pull them later and glue them together. But this time what I ended up doing was I made up all of the books that I, taped and cut and glued and taped. All of the ones that I showed you in part 1. And then I've been kind of working them down. I think there was 2 others that I did previously. It's nice to have them glued and ready when you are like, oh yeah, I can do a book for you out of that fabric that so-and-so is already bought. I don't, as a rule, offer exclusivity on fabric. Partially because if I said to you, oh, I won't make another one out of this fabric, or it's the only fabric I had, that doesn't mean that somebody won't show up on my doorstep. Well, so not literally, but contact me via my website or call me on the phone or leave me a message on YouTube and say, oh, I have some tulip fabric just like that. If I give it to you, will you make me a book? It's their fabric. So of course I will, because they own it and it's theirs. There are a few exceptions with antique or vintage fabric. That kind of thing's not going to just show up really readily. And I do let people know I can only offer you exclusivity with fabrics that I own. Somebody else brings it. Never had this problem. Sometimes we invent problems, the just in cases. Okay, there we go. Nice. Now, let's look at this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and roll this off because I am probably not covering another one this moment. All right, here we go. Now I'm going to look at this and I'm going to think, what will look nice on the inside? Here's the thing, it barely shows. So, yes, I would want the fabric to be right side up. No, if I put this tulip right here, you're not really going to see it because the signatures sit there. So, I think what we'll do is we will open this up. Thank you. Lay this up here. Not quite to the edge. Cut it off. Again, not quite to the edge. And then let's decide how wide we want this to be. I like it to come off onto the front and the back. An inch is nice. Sometimes the fabric is already big enough to give it 1.5 inches or 2 inches. I'm like, fine, I don't want the last little bit. And there's that. Straighten that out. Pluck the threads. Once this is glued down, no more threads will be finding their way out to fray. So Fabrifix is a fabric glue. It's completely washable. I needed a bolero vest to go over a sleeveless dress one time. It was fall. I thought, I want to wear this sleeveless dress, but I'm going out. It's an evening thing. So I found a piece of fabric that complemented the dress, and I cut it out. And I took some, actually I used Fabri-Tac, which is the same brand, made by Beacon. And I glued the seams together, glued my hem in, and wore that vest for quite a while. Because fabric glues can be washed. I think Fabri-Tac feels a little stiffer. Fabri-Fix is a little bit more pliable. At least that's kind of my take on it. I'm not sure that I'm 100% correct. Maybe I used it too thick, you know? So then it leaves a thickness and you're like, ooh, this is stiff. But, there you go. It's just sort of my take on that. I'm going to work that into the crevice, nice and flat, and then come out and grab these edges. Okay, so we're getting towards the end of this project, or at least the part that I'm videoing. And so as soon as I get the paper on, then I will give you a heads up on a new project. Okay, stay. So I've already cut these, and those now get glued on here. Okay. At one point, when I first started this, I would use the Fabri-Fix around the edges of the paper. Go off those corners. And then I used glue stick on the inside because I could use less of a more expensive glue. And that worked great when 3M was still making their Create permanent glue stick. But they've discontinued that one. It may not be, whoops, sorry about that. It may not be a complete forever discontinue. I did speak with somebody, very nice lady, came on the phone and she said, I don't know, let me go check. And she was gone for a few minutes. She came back and she said, well, they say that it's not being made right now. It may come back, and that one of the questions had been, besides that, is the Scotch permanent white glue stick, has the word white in it, is not the same formula. They didn't just rebrand the same product. And I tried it. It's wetter. Glue sticks are water-based glue. It was wetter and it caused warping in my papers. I do still use it for small things when I'm, if I'm working on different kinds of ephemera, altered paper clips or pockets, but I don't use it for my actual books. And I only use it because I bought, I don't know, like a 4-pack. So I'm not going to waste it. It's a fabric. I mean, it's a paper craft glue. It's totally usable. But I'll just keep my eyes out, waiting, and hope it'll come back. I know that there was a big uproar when it first disappeared, and there's been all kinds of weigh-ins. I think it works the same. I think it works different. I don't think it works at all. I think it works, but I don't like it as well. So I don't use it. So I don't use it in here because, like I said, it's too wet of a glue, and it caused some warbling in my papers. Okay, so again, ready to have the holes punched, and there's that. So now, these are the two I got done today. Let's talk about the next project. Oh, let's put the tack, which I've hidden, lost, covered. There it is. Okay. talk about the new project. So the new project is a witchy book, and it is being covered by this Ouija board fabric that my client gave me. I think this time, so this will be the inside, the inner spine cover. Yeah, now I'm picking glue off like I have a sunburn. I have to peel. What was I saying? So I think we're going to call this customer Alice. So Alice has ordered a witchy book and given me this fabric that she picked up. So this is going to be a new project. We're going to start this. It'll be a multi-part project. Maybe not as long as the book, The Mermaids. That one was for the client Stephanie. And I think that one ended up with 9, or I think there were 9. So with this one, I'm hoping that I can perhaps be a little less verbose and more efficient, and we'll get this done in fewer parts. But so you can watch for that one to come up. We're probably looking at this happening in September of 2024. Well, thanks for coming and listening to me babble. If you've enjoyed these, please hit the like button. If you have not already, hit the follow button. Make sure you hit the little bell button so you get the notifications. And I don't know, this is Cathy saying thank you, and I hope you have fun with your projects.